Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Greidick. I'm Dr. Martha Greidick. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. You've probably heard the phrase work-life balance, and you've probably heard that work-life balance is not only an important topic of conversation, but also important to your health and well-being. But what exactly is work-life balance? In a nutshell, in simple terms, work-life balance is a proper balance between your work life or your work domain and your non-work life, your private domain. More importantly, work-life balance speaks to the separation between your work life and your personal life, your non-work life. It means taking the time to disconnect from work on a daily basis and recharge and rest every single day. And while you may think of rest as limited to sleep, it doesn't have to be. Certainly, sleep is a good form of rest, but resting from work can also mean fully engaging in fun, non-work activities. The bottom line with finding work-life balance means not working after work and on the weekends, if weekends are your regularly scheduled days off. That means that seemingly innocent behaviors such as answering the phone, that's work-related, or answering emails, or even things like checking emails but not answering them, those really are considered to be work and should be something that you avoid and give up during your non-work hours. You may be thinking, what about thinking about work, thoughts about work when you're not at work anymore, it's after work or on the weekend? Well, certainly there's something to be said for the volume of thoughts and energy that you devote to this. Fleeting thoughts here and there are normal for everybody, but if you are consumed by thoughts of work after work and during your weekends, then that's a different story. That's potentially problematic because you are not effectively disconnecting from work and resting and recharging. Some people are better at disconnecting from work during the week, but for some reason, when the weekend comes around, they seem to sneak in some hours of work, even though they're supposed to be taking time off. On the other hand, for some people, they have a hard time disconnecting during the week and seem to be drawn to the phone calls or the emails after hours. But when it comes to the weekend, that belongs to them. Whichever category you fall into, either way, you are not fully disconnecting from work and are really tipping that work-life balance against you. The goal here is to find a work-life balance that is the best thing for you. It's important to remember that everybody's idea of work-life balance is individual to them. What one person will consider to be a well-balanced work-life balance experience will not work for somebody else. For people who are doing their life's work and really enjoy being at work, the work-life balance formula will be different from the person who sees his or her job as a means to an end, as a means to pay the bills, feed the family, and put a roof over their heads. So you have to consider that somebody else's idea of work-life balance will not be the same as yours. So aim to identify what will work for you. Remember that this may take some time and some trial and error. You may figure out that what you initially thought would be a good work-life balance formula for you isn't the best experience. So rather than despair, simply make adjustments and work through it until you figure out what works for you. As you consider your own work-life balance, you may want to think about what's important to you in your life, your experiences, what's important to you in terms of the people in your life, how you want to spend your time. A good exercise that may be helpful to you is to think forward to a life review, if you will. If you were reviewing your life on your last day on earth, what would you think about how you spend your time, what you devoted your time and energy to? Think about how many people would say that they wish they had worked more and spent less time with their loved ones. Probably not that many. So this is the kind of exercise that may be helpful to you as you consider your own work-life balance and what's important to you in your life. Once you have a pretty good idea of what you want your work-life balance to look like, set an intention and commit to follow through. It starts by setting yourself up for success. When you're not at work, focus on things that are non-work related. That's as simple as focusing on a list of tasks. Those things could include things on your to-do list or want-to-do list or fun list or any combination of all of those. Embrace routine. Routine can be very helpful in keeping you focused on things that are non-work related. Make plans, have a schedule, make commitments to meet with people in your personal life, to spend time with them. Avoid talking shop after hours or on the weekends. This is especially important if you are friends with people with whom you also work. It's easy to slip into those work-related conversations, so it's important to pay attention to what you're talking about with your work friends or anybody else for that matter. As you work towards establishing a new work-life balance, one that is better suited for your liking and that is healthier for you, consider rewarding yourself for your successes as you successfully complete steps and make behavioral changes to move you towards your goal of a healthy work-life balance. Why not reward yourself in some small way here and there to keep yourself going, to give yourself something to look forward to, and have a little reward for doing a good job? Remember that this may take some time and effort, but in the end, it will be well worth it. This is especially important to remember if your current work-life balance is nowhere near where you would like it to be. Give yourself some time. It's something that you may have to make a few attempts to get it right. There's a learning curve to consider, so be patient with yourself, but be persistent and keep working towards your goal. Having a healthy work-life balance is well worth it. It's important to your health, your well-being, but also to your social life and to the people outside of work who share your life with you, be they your family, your friends, or anybody else that shares your life with you. As your work-life balance improves, not only will you benefit in terms of your health and your personal and social experiences. You may also benefit from decreased stress and anxiety. You may find yourself enjoying your work more, being more engaged, being able to focus better, being more motivated, being more productive at work. The list goes on and on. As you can see, there is no reason to not desire a proper work-life balance in your experience. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. First and foremost, a proper work-life balance is an important part of your health and well-being. Work-life balance means being able to separate your work life from your personal life. That means disconnecting from work on a regular basis, ideally on a daily basis. It means taking the time to rest and recharge daily. Even small, seemingly innocent behaviors can foil your efforts. So remember, no checking emails and no answering phones after hours and during the weekend. While thinking about work after work here and there is perfectly normal, allowing your thoughts of work to consume you is a whole different thing and could be problematic. Pay attention to your own patterns. How well do you disconnect from work during the weekday versus the weekend? Is one more difficult for you than the other? If so, you know where you need to focus the most. Remember that the idea of work-life balance is very individual, and it will be different for you than for someone else that you know. So don't get hung up on what other people consider to be the perfect work-life balance. Instead, focus on what works for you. Make a commitment to yourself to give it the time and the energy that it takes to bring your work-life balance into the kind of experience where you want it to be. Set yourself up for success. Embrace things like routine that will help you to keep your mind off of work and keep you too busy with personal life experiences to be tempted to check in on work while you're supposed to be resting and recharging. And remember that as anything else in life, this will take some time and effort. And of course, the more out of balance your work-life balance experience is, the more time and effort it may take for you to get it to where you want it to be. So be patient with yourself, but be persistent as well. As the week unfolds, I invite you to consider your own work-life balance. It's easy to forget all about it. We're all so busy with so many different things that work-life balance may be the last thing on your mind. But I'm here to remind you to stop and give it some thought and consider whether the work-life balance that you are currently experiencing is where you want it to be, or if it could use some work. If it can use some work, then roll up your sleeves. Figure out what do you want your work-life balance experience to be like, and then work towards that. The more time and effort that you devote to it, the better your chances of reaching your goals faster and easier. For those of you who are experiencing this episode in audio only, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel where you can experience this podcast in a video version as well. Along with the podcast, there are many other videos on stress management. So I invite you to click on the link below and check out my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I hope that you will join me again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.